Your brain is working against you right now, not because something is wrong with you, not because you lack discipline or intelligence, but because the organ sitting inside your skull was built 200,000 years before the money was invented, and it has never fully caught up. Every time you spend instead of save, choose now instead of later, or feel that strange resistance when you try to invest, that is not weakness. That is evolution. And the question nobody asks is this: if your brain was never designed to build wealth, how is anyone supposed to do it? By the end of this, you will know the answer. Meet Sofia, 31 years old, financial analyst at a firm in Boston. She spends her entire professional day analyzing numbers, evaluating risk, and advising clients on how to protect and grow their money. She is, by every professional measure, financially sophisticated, and yet, Sofia has never opened a personal investment account. She has been meaning to for 4 years. The money sits in a low-interest savings account, losing real value to inflation every month, while she, a person who understands compound interest better than 90% of the 8, does nothing with it. When her colleagues talk about their portfolios, Sofia nods. She understands everything they are describing. She knows what she should be doing. The knowledge gap is zero. The action gap is enormous. She closes the app again, and she does not entirely know why. What Sofia is experiencing is not procrastination in the casual sense. It is not laziness. It is the direct output of a brain operating exactly as evolution designed it, in an environment that evolution never anticipated. And Sofia's situation is far more common than you might think. Research consistently shows that financial knowledge and financial behavior are only weakly correlated. Knowing what to do and actually doing it are governed by two almost entirely separate systems in from the brain, which means everything the financial industry has ever tried to teach you may have been aimed at the wrong target entirely. So what is actually happening inside Sofia's brain when she opens that app and feels nothing but resistance? Stay with me, because what comes next will change how you understand every financial decision you have ever avoided. The human brain is not one unified system. It is, in a very real sense, 3 brains layered on top of each other across evolutionary time. The oldest layer, the brainstem and limbic system, governs survival, immediate threat response, and reward-seeking behavior. It evolved over hundreds of millions of years. It is fast, automatic, and extraordinarily powerful. The newest layer, the prefrontal cortex, governs planning, long-term thinking, abstract reasoning, and impulse control. It is uniquely developed in humans. It is also slow, effortful, and easily overridden. Think about what investing actually requires. Giving up something real and tangible today, money you can see and touch and spend, in exchange for an abstract promise of more money at an unspecified future point. The prefrontal cortex can process that exchange. The limbic system cannot. The limbic system experiences giving away money as a loss, and experiencing something as a loss activates the same neurological alarm system that once warned your ancestors about physical danger. This is why saving feels unnatural, not metaphorically. Neurologically, behavioral researchers call this present bias, the documented tendency for the brain to systematically overweight immediate rewards and underweight future ones, regardless of their actual objective value. A study published in the Journal of Neuroscience found that when participants chose immediate rewards, the limbic system dominated brain activity. When they chose future rewards, the prefrontal cortex was more active, but consistently less influential. Ancient brain wins most of the contests. By design, but here's the problem that makes this genuinely fascinating and genuinely troubling. Your brain does not experience investing as neutral. It experiences it through the lens of loss aversion, the documented behavioral principle that losses feel approximately twice as psychologically painful as equivalent gains feel pleasurable. When Sofia opens that brokerage app, her brain is not calculating expected returns. It is calculating potential loss. What if the market goes down? What if I pick the wrong fund? What if I need this money and it is locked away? Each of these thoughts is generated by loss aversion, and each one carries twice the psychological weight of the corresponding upside. And underneath all of this sits the deepest evolutionary reason that wealth building feels unnatural. For the overwhelming majority of human history, hoarding resources was neither possible nor advantageous. In nomadic survival environments, accumulating more than you could carry or consume immediately had no survival benefit and potentially created conflict within the group. The psychology that drove survival was one of consume now, share with the tribe, move when resources deplete. The idea of delebumption, accepting risk, and waiting years for a return, this pattern has no equivalently deferring consent in 200,000 years of human evolutionary history. It was invented by civilization and codified into modern financial systems within the last few centuries. Skeeples, your brain is a 200,000-year-old tool being asked to perform a task it was never trained for, an understanding that changes everything about how you approach the problem. If Sofia's experience were isolated, it would be curious, but it is not isolated. It is the statistical norm. A 2023 Federal Reserve report found that nearly 40% of American adults could not cover a $400 emergency expense from savings without borrowing or selling something. Not $4,000, $400. This is not a population of financially uninformed people. Many of them are Sofia, people who understand the importance of an emergency fund, who have been told to save, who know the math. What the research consistently shows is that the gap between knowing and doing is not closed by more information. It is a behavioral gap, driven by the same neurological architecture we have been discussing, and it manifests across every income level. Studies of lottery winners consistently find that within 3 to 5 years, the majority return to their pre-winning financial status, not because they are irresponsible, because their brain's baseline set point for financial behavior, shaped by years of neural habit formation, reasserts itself against the changed external circumstances. Think about that for a second. The external circumstances changed completely. The internal neurological programming did not. This same pattern drives what researchers call lifestyle inflation, the near-universal tendency for spending to rise in proportion to income, regardless of how much the income increases. Each raise feels like financial progress. Each raise triggers the brain's reference point adjustment, recalibrating what feels normal and necessary. The result is that increased income, without deliberate architectural intervention, rarely produces increased savings. It produces increased expenses. And here is where the evolutionary mismatch becomes genuinely costly in modern terms. The human brain is particularly poor at evaluating exponential growth. Researchers have documented what they call exponential growth bias, the consistent tendency for people to dramatically underestimate the long-term value of compounding investments. When asked to estimate what $100 per month invested at 7% annually would produce over 30 years, most people guess dramatically lower than the correct figure of roughly $119,000. The brain models growth linearly. Compound interest grows exponentially. The mismatch between those two models causes people to consistently undervalue the future reward of starting to invest, which then feeds directly back into present bias. The future reward already feels small because it is underestimated. Present consumption feels even more justified. Sofia has lived this without naming it. Every month she told herself she would start investing when she had more saved up, or when the market conditions were clearer, or when she had done more research. Each delay felt rational in the moment. The compounding effect of those delays was invisible to her, because the brain that generated the delays is precisely the brain that struggles to visualize compounding. But here's the problem, and this is the part most financial education completely misses. Telling Sofia about exponential growth bias does not automatically fix it. Understanding why you avoid something does not automatically change whether you do it, which is why the solution cannot be more knowledge. It has to be something else entirely. Here is the insight that changes everything. You cannot upgrade your brain's evolutionary hardware, but you can design systems that route around its limitations, systems where the financially wise choice happens automatically, without requiring your ancient limbic system to cooperate. Write this down. The first principle is automation before awareness. The single most powerful financial intervention documented in behavioral economics research is automatic enrollment and automatic contribution. When saving requires a decision, Present bias attacks every month. When saving happens automatically before the money reaches your awareness, present bias has no target. Sofia finally opened her investment account on a Tuesday afternoon. She did not research the perfect fund. She did not wait for ideal market conditions. She chose a broad index fund, set a monthly automatic contribution she would not feel acutely, and then did not touch it. The decision happened once. The execution happened automatically. Her ancient brain was bypassed, not overcome. The second principle is friction reduction on good behavior, friction increase on bad behavior. Your brain allocates decision energy based on immediate perceived cost. Adding one additional step to an impulse purchase, removing saved payment details, deleting shopping apps, instituting a review period, reduces impulsive spending by measurable amounts in research settings. Meanwhile, making your investment account harder to access impulsively protects it from the same brain that would otherwise rationalize early withdrawals. The third principle is concrete future visualization. Research on pension savings found that when participants were shown digitally aged versions of themselves before making savings decisions, they saved significantly more. The prefrontal cortex can engage with an abstract future self, but the limbic system cannot. Making the future concrete, specific, and visual gives the prefrontal cortex the material it needs to compete. Sofia started a monthly practice of sitting with one specific future financial scenario she was working toward. Not a vague concept of financial security, a specific concrete image with a specific number and a specific context. Over months, that image shifted from feeling distant and theoretical to feeling genuinely motivating, because the brain had been given something concrete enough to engage with. The fourth principle is identity reframing. Research in behavioral psychology shows that behavior change is most durable when it is connected to identity rather than goal. People who identified as investors, rather than people who were trying to invest, made more consistent financial decisions over time. The label changed what felt normal and natural, which gradually changed what the brain treated as the default. Sofia is not a person trying to start investing. She is a financial analyst who manages other people's portfolios professionally and has now aligned her personal behavior with her professional identity. That reframe took 30 seconds to articulate. Its behavioral effect has compounded over time. Sofia still works the same job. Her brain still produces the same initial resistance when she opens her investment app. The difference is that she no longer needs the resistance to disappear before she acts. She built systems that act regardless of what her ancient brain is feeling in the moment. Your brain was never designed to build wealth. That is simply true. It was designed to keep you alive in an environment that no longer exists. But the same prefrontal cortex that makes you uniquely human, the part that can plan, anticipate, and reason about the future, is also the part that can design systems to work around the parts of you that cannot. If this made you look at your own resistance differently, save this video. You will want to come back to it. The most important financial decision you will ever make is not which stock to buy or which fund to choose. It is whether you will design your life so that your ancient brain works with you, or leave it to wealth, run on autopilot in a world it was never built for.